is 6:30 p.m. on Monday, August 19th, 2024. Now call to order this regular board meeting of the Fairfield Community School District Board of Directors. The regular monthly meeting of the Board of Directors of Fairfield Community School District to be held at 6:30 p.m. on the third Monday of each month. The meeting is open to the public and the public is encouraged to attend. One Fairfield, where relationships foster growth, protect learners, unlock individual potential, and serve every student every day. Roll call, please.
Mark Porter.
Here.
Megan L. Robbins.
Here.
Mark Thornton.
Here.
Tyler Ward.
Present.
Dave Eastburn.
Here.
Christy Kessel.
Here.
Deborah Williamson.
Here.
All present.
Thank you. Mr. Superintendent, do we have any perfections to the agenda?
We do, under 4.9, under the consent agenda. If you'll notice, it says March 16th, 2024 through March 21st, 2024. That should read 25. If you click on the attachments that were uploaded last week, it's the correct trip. It just was put in incorrectly on the year. So that was the only one.
Perfect, thank you.
One more, sorry.
We have a teacher transferring from Washington Elementary, Sarah Smithberg, to take on high school science. So we'd like to add that to the certified staff consent agenda.
Okay. All right, do I hear a motion to approve the agenda as presented?
So moved.
Second.
All right, I saw Porter and Dave Eastburn. Any discussion?
Should be a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
As amended. Sorry, that's what I meant to say. All opposed, or all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. All right, next up, let's focus on learning. The trip to Washington, D.C. Let's hear some highlights about it. Welcome.
I'm Kristen McCready. I was a teacher at fifth grade at the middle school. This is going to be my first year at Pence as the instructional coach. This is my third trip to Washington, D.C. We left this year on July 26th and at 4 o'clock in the morning and loaded a Greyhound bus, drove to Chicago, boarded a plane, flew to DC, and as soon as boots hit the ground, our tour began for 4 days. So it was very full. We go with a company called World Classrooms, and they provide 2 CEOs, Chief Experience Officers, that are with us from the parking lot of the middle school until we return 4 days later to the parking lot. And they're really cool. Maybe the kids will talk about them. When we get to DC, we have a local expert that meets us at the airport, and they're with us every single day and are just a wealth of knowledge. They have so much information that they share, which I'm sure the kids will share something that they've learned from our local expert. This year we had 51 travelers, which is the largest group that we've had so far, 34 students and 17 adults. When students are in 5th and 6th grade, they're invited to go on their trip. They don't actually go until they're in 7th and 8th grade. The reason for the 2 years is because the school does not finance the trip at all. It's family financed. And so this provides a way for families to have an affordable payment for 2 years so that they can go. This year, Alex Kessel with Farm Bureau Insurance and the Ed Foundation provided scholarships for several students. They could apply for a scholarship by writing a 1-page essay on why they wanted to go to Washington, D.C. Once they were selected, then they had a year to read a book called Lies My History Teacher Told Me, and then they wrote a little book report on the book that they read. And we were able to offer 1 full scholarship and 3 half scholarships for students. So I'm just really grateful for Farm Bureau and for Ed Foundation that they can provide that for them. So I'm going to turn it over to the students and they're going to share some of their experience. So rock, paper, scissors. First.
My name's Olivia Manning. I'm going to 8th grade.
My favorite part of the trip was probably being able to hang out with my friends and going to all the places. I also got to make a TikTok with one of our tour guides, Dom, in front of the Capitol, which was really fun. Something I learned was during the Korean War, there was a point when they had ran out of ammunition and they had called in for some 60mm ammunition, and the code name for it was Tootsie Rolls. But the operator didn't have the code sheet, so they sent them boxes of Tootsie Rolls in the middle of the war. And they ended up having to eat the Tootsie Rolls for several days because all their other food was frozen. And they also used them, since it was so cold, the fuel or the gas lines on vehicles would crack, and they'd use the Tootsie Rolls to fix it. Along with like vehicles being shot and having bullet holes in them, they'd use the Tootsie Rolls to patch it up.
My name is Quinn. I'm going into 8th grade. My favorite part about the trip was being able to experience the trip with my friends and making core memories. The interesting fact that I learned is that although there are 4 crypts at the tomb of the unknown soldiers, only 3 are occupied. The largest holds the remains of a soldier from World War I. The other 3 are from World War II, the Korean War, and Vietnam War, which is now empty. Through DNA testing, the remains of the soldier have been identified, and as Michael Blassie, they were identified in 1998.
Hi, my name is Caitlin Recount, and I'm going into 8th grade. My favorite part about the trip was hanging out with my friends and being able to experience the trip with them. And then what I learned is like every monument has a bunch of detail. Like at the Martin Luther, he didn't have shoes because slavery's still going on, so the monument wasn't like finished. And then he was looking south because that's where like majority of the slaves were. And then he has like a sheet of paper in his hands, but no one knows what it is, so you can imagine it, like what you think it is.
Hello, my name is Gage Marple. I'm going into 7th grade. My favorite part of the trip was Gettysburg, and something I learned was there was more than 3 unknown soldiers originally.
That's what we
Awesome.
have for you.
Did you guys get enough sleep on the trip? It's just go, 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 isn't it? Like you start and you just
Late nights.
yeah,
That's
that's
good.
good.
Bedtimes. We do have so when they actually fell asleep, we don't know. Yeah, so.
Yeah, my daughter was on the trip and she mentioned hanging out with her friends, just like you guys all did. Being able to do this with their friends is pretty cool.
Yeah.
And Alyssa was also there, and she mentioned Smiley, which I guess is one of your guys' tour guides,
Yep,
who she
he's our
really, really
local
liked.
expert. Yeah.
Yeah.
Super cool. Everybody that's involved in the trip, our bus driver, who stays with us the whole trip, our tour guide Smiley, and then the 2 CEOs that are with the company World Classrooms are just so much high energy and just make it so fun for the kids that they're just engaged the whole time. So it's a really great opportunity for kids. So thank you for letting us share.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you for sharing.
Don't feel like you have to stay for the rest. You can if you want to. Don't have to.
This won't be as interesting.
All right. Thank you, everybody. Do I hear a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Porter and Megan Dow Robbins. And discussion. Hearing none. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. All right. Now I'm going to open it up for Evan to talk about property tax and levy impact.
If this was Zach's item. In front of you guys, there should be about a 2.5-page fact sheet that I've provided you all. So as you guys know, property tax statements are getting released, and I thought it'd be really good tonight to talk as a board to make sure we're all on the same page and give the same message as you guys get questions, because I know I've received some questions myself. So I know a lot of this speaks school finance. So try to bear with me as I walk through this and stop me as you need to go. But this is how my brain operates. So the first thing I'd like to talk about is the rollback. Should be at the top of the page there. So that came into play on November 1st, 2023 through Senate File 181. And I just provided you a calculation which should look pretty familiar to what we did during budget time. So this is how you calculate how much property tax you would owe on a residential property assessed at $100,000. So if you remember when we were presenting the budget, you would see on one column $579 would have been coming to the school. At the time of the budget, we were expecting a $12.42 levy, but through some additional secured revenue, it actually dropped down to $12.11. So they would have owed $561, and this is how that maps out, pending no changes of assessed value. Now the questions you guys are probably getting is a lot of things have changed that have impacted people's property taxes. The first one I want to touch base on is the property valuations right below. And everything below the rollback or everything on this sheet is out of the district's control besides setting the levy. So I just want to let you know we're just being compliant with the laws. So this is a school district assessed valuation. If you want to check my numbers, you can find it at the Department of Management website on how they pulled those figures. And what I really wanted to show you is from fiscal year 2024, which we completed June 30th of 2024, and in this year, we're seeing a 17.7% increase in property valuation within Fairfield. Now, if you were to take that 17% and just apply it to the $100,000 assessed valuation above, that'd now be $117,000. 17 times $12.11 would be a $200 increase owed to the school. So that's how that money's kind of circulating in. Again, that comes from the assessed valuation. Another thing that kind of changed that I wanted to bring forward to you guys is the tax credits. There's several new tax credits that came out in the last legislative session, and some, which is why I didn't really talk a whole lot about it because it becomes very personalized at that point. So if you're 65 or older, there was an additional credit for your property value. If you're a military veteran, there's an additional tax credit for that. But we also know that our commercial industries lost some tax credits, like some business credits as well, so they're seeing a different side of the impact. So it's really hard for us as a school district to present everyone's individual impact on property taxes based on these credits and unique situations. But if anyone wants me to walk them through the formula, tell them, give me a call, happy to do it. Another question that's kind of been very prevalent is, yes, we did ask for $2 million in additional cash this year. And why did we ask for that additional 2% going on to the back page here, or $2 million in additional cash? And I provided a chart there from FY 2018 through FY 2023. FY 2024 I'm currently working on. But as you can see on the top line there, there's a special education deficit. And that's how much it costs above and beyond what the state provides us in revenue to serve our special education kids. The line below that is the cash tax to cover those expenses. As you can see in 2018, 2019, and 2020, we taxed zero cash to cover our deficit, let alone we had over about $800,000 of repeated deficit. So we were taxing no cash to cover that deficit. Moving forward, we started taxing cash again, but not enough to cover the deficit. So we got us into this hole of about $3.2 million of cash that we needed over the last 5 years to cover those deficit expenditures. Based off the 3% calculator we were doing during our budget time last year, I'm expecting about a $1.2 million special education deficit this year. And I asked for another $800,000 to help start climbing us out of that hole to get back to our solvency ratio set by the board. I think it was August of 23. So getting back towards that 8%.
Now I know obviously you weren't here, but why were we not taxing for that in that time frame? I mean, would you have any assessments of that, I guess, would be my question.
There's a couple things that I saw during those times we were getting to the end of a bond.
Yep.
So there could have been a risk analysis of if we pay off the bond sooner, we could save millions of dollars for taxpayers. But we didn't want to raise the levy to pay that off sooner, so they were able to drop that off to do a surplus levy. Another analysis behind that is we could have been in a very heavy cash position, and we made a decision to spend down that cash, and it just rapidly approached with us because our prediction did not account for of going from $800,000 to 1.2 almost immediately. And then also we had a change in my position coming into the FY 2021 year, which was a really hard year to now analyze because that came right after COVID, so we were all shut down. So as you can see there, our deficit dropped to 385,000. So if you're coming in, all you see is that as your deficit, you're probably trying to have good data to make a good assumption of where we're heading. So that's kind of the reason for the increased cash revenue, is really just to help us get back to the cash position we want to be in, also to make sure we're serving our special education kiddos to the best of our ability. Some of the next steps that I think I've heard from this board, and correct me if I'm wrong, is we're going to try to stabilize that levy, make sure we're doing everything we can to provide the best programming we can, and we're looking for that new norm. But we do know that takes time to get us back to the financially solvent ratio that we have established with the metrics. And the last thing I provided you guys is just some comparable districts. So the Southeast Iowa Conference, we're second to the lowest in our entire conference. And in districts comparable to our size statewide, we're also the second lowest at $12.11. So that's real-time numbers right now. I'm not saying that's good or bad. I just wanted to give you guys some comparables to analyze as you're talking to people. There's a lot of information here, but I want to give you a high-level overview and open it up for questions and discussion that you guys would like to have around this. But I also want you guys all to have the same talking points that I've been talking to people about as well.
So do we know why it basically doubled from 22 to 23? And do we expect it to continue at that rate, or do we foresee it going back down?
I think you said FY24 right now we're projected just at about 1.2, so not very much higher than it was this year. I'm not sure moving forward though as to kind of where we're at.
A lot of it is just we can't predict the demographics of the kids that we serve in our school. And every year through the IEP processes, I can elaborate on this more. Several kids get identified with needs that they may have, and it's hard to predict those costs. So what I am assuming, which is not always the right answer, is we saw an uptick in the demographics of kids who needed additional instruction or additional support, and with that came staffing to provide that instructional support for those kids.
And I think oversight too is going to be really important with our special ed director and myself to make sure staffing levels that are at the appropriate levels. And when you think about when things get certified, our count date is October 1st for gen ed students, but students that have an IEP, it's October 30th. And so you may have students that were level 1 students who got that additional, whatever it was, 0.72 additional dollars for that student. They may transition to a level 2 student throughout the course of that year, which may require more supports, more dollars. We're not going to get that money for 2 years because it's a year behind anyway. So we won't get that money for 2 more years, if that makes sense. Does that make sense? And so it's all of those reasons. But I do think from a kind of oversight or management perspective, we've got a much better system in place right now than I think was there to not justify, but make sure that we're making staffing decisions that are appropriate for what we need.
So I think, just trying to break it down on a level that we're going to be speaking to people about this is, I think we just need to make people understand that a lot of the changes happening with the property taxes this year ultimately really have nothing to do with us on a local level. It's been a lot of state mandated changes that have been happening, especially with this increased value in the assessed value going up so significantly in a 1-year time period. That's really driving the large increase. And that if you can convey the fact that, if you compare our tax levy rates with our surrounding districts, we are definitely still on the low end compared to everyone else in our conference. So
clearly, I think a lot of us saw that post on the internet that was highlighted. It did not really highlight this stuff the way that it needed to be to kind of rectify that. Kind of just made it seem like we were just taxing substantially more, and it's really not that much more. It's more, but a lot of it just basically boils down to increased assessed values. right?
It's a big one, yeah, I mean, 17.7% on assessed values. Again, everyone has a different situation.
Now, is that typical throughout the whole state? Has that increase been there, or?
Oh, everywhere. I mean, there's places in the metro who I know have seen 22, 25%, 30% increases. So statewide, everyone's seen an increase in assessed values. I'm not going to pinpoint it on every county, but I've heard majority of districts are facing that.
And I think the other thing, you know, just to make sure that people know is, you know, it is hard to keep it all straight because, you know, yes, we did a $1 million budget cut and, you know, some of these can go to certain funds, but things can't be used for other things. And so to help them understand that, like, it has to be done this way and paid out of this, you know, area as well, because that can be, I think, confusing for a lot of people too.
This has very little to do with the general fund, so.
Right.
Well, $5.70 of that $12.11 is state mandated that we have to have, and that is general fund backed. And that cash that we did do this year, I don't have the exact number in front of me on the sheet right now, but in the dollar something range to cover special ed deficit is general fund. So I'd say 50% of it is general fund, but the rest is our facilities and
What was that number again?
for
How much is?
state mandated $5.70.
And that's for every single district in the state.
And I know you've talked to our local representative about how like almost every single district in the state is running a deficit. Do you know if in Des Moines, is there any movement on anything to help change that formula, help out districts?
I haven't heard that there is, as far as like actual traction. I do know that our formula is, I mean, it's very advantageous for us compared to a lot of other states for students with special services needed. But I haven't seen any.
I know there's organizations out there lobbying for them to look at the weightings and the revenue tied to those weightings, but I haven't seen it catch as a bill that's actually gone to the floor yet.
And I think that the last thing that everyone should know is that we're also, this also impacts our long-term financial health. In our $1.1 million that we addressed this past time, we really addressed the UAB position that we have, which is our credit card. But our cash is still below our, what we consider our policy, our long-term financial health. And this is one of the reasons why. And so over a period of time, we have to correct that to get our cash position where it's financially healthy for the district. And then we can stabilize the levy and give people certainty. So I think that's an important consideration too for all of us in the public.
Is everyone tracking? Any questions? I went through it really, really fast, but I gave you guys a lot of information in front of you.
Well,
And I'm sorry this was not published on Wednesday. I was getting feedback throughout the weekend, kind of working on it yesterday for you guys, so.
Well, this is exactly what I called you when I was requesting, so thank you, so.
Yep, I really appreciate this. Help us to, go out there and make sure we're not spreading any misinformation. Cool. Anybody else? Moving on to public participation. On behalf of fellow board members at this time, I would like to invite any member of the audience that has filled out the form to step up to the microphone with comments about items of interest or concern. Although we meet in public, we do not meet with the public, and as such, the board cannot comment or answer questions. Please begin by stating your name and relationship to the school. It would be appreciated if you would limit your comments to 5 minutes. If 10 or more forms are submitted, we will reduce the time limit to 3 minutes per person. We ask that you remember that Iowa law prohibits us from discussing specific employees or their job performance. And John Bechtel, welcome
John
to this.
Bechtel, I live in Fairfield. I'm a former teacher, 1960s, 1970s, at Centerville High School, teaching history and international relations. Because of the achievements of my students, My students and my fellow teachers nominated me for the Iowa Teacher of the Year Award, which was given in '71. And then the Iowa Department of Education forwarded that to the national, and I was one of 5 finalists for the national on that. And I have a high, I'm 88 years old now, but I have a high interest in what's going on in our schools, and I'm very concerned. This is the American history textbook being used in our high school, and it has an agenda in it. It's very clear. You don't have to judge it. I could walk you through here, and you say, oh, good grief, how did this happen? It's an anti-Christian, pro-Muslim agenda. Now, you can start with the glossary, and there's a nice write-up on Islam and Mormonism, and then you go over to C, and guys, there's nothing on Christianity. You know, you say, well, okay, now what? So let's keep going. So you go to the index. Well, there is a listing on Christianity. There's plenty on Mormonism and Islam, but there is something on Christianity, but only 2 pages. Now this is 1,100 pages. Okay, only this 2 pages in this book on Christianity. Okay, pages 22 and 23. That takes you all the way to the front of the book. It takes you to the Crusades. Well, we got the theme going now. We got Christians attacking Muslims in the Holy Land. And what's this got to do with American history? Well, it goes downhill from there. There are 2 highlights in the book, where they're very prominent highlights that a high school student would more likely go to. The one on Malcolm X is fully developed about his organization, his background, and it finishes up with, he's a great inspiration to Americans. Now we go to Martin Luther King, and they managed to trash him. They don't use the word reverend, they don't even give him the title. Have you ever heard Martin Luther King use the word hatred? I haven't. But they managed to work hatred into that lineup twice. And it just didn't fit him. They don't mention his organization, and there's certainly no final line that says he's a great inspiration to Americans. It's just running agendas on our kids is wrong, and a lot of it's going on right now. And all my suggestion to the board is that before you spend big money to get a new textbook somewhere, have several people who are knowledgeable in history or whatever to vet it, and then report back and assure you that it doesn't have an agenda. I'm sure this book, I went to the high school, I asked for a loaner, they wouldn't give it to me. I said, well, will you loan it for the weekend? And I'll bring you back money, no? So I ended up buying my own, and that was good because I could mark it up good. My next project is to get the world history textbook and start through that. But I just want to, be cautious, guys. There's too many organizations pushing our kids with agendas. And I don't think our textbook in Fairfield should have an agenda like that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, moving into new business. Do I hear a motion to approve a resolution ordering an election on the issuance of $38,515,000 of general obligation school bonds?
So moved.
Second.
Eastburn and Dowd Robbins. And discussion. This is what we were collecting signatures for. Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for collecting signatures.
Yeah, so between Zach, myself, a couple other people, just because I wanted 1 million people to triple check it, we received 997 eligible voter signatures. With that being said, we actually got a total of 1,033, but 36 were not valid signatures, according to my count. We need 749, according to our last election, where we had 2,993 people vote in the school board election. So right here are all the signatures verified and my certificate to move forward to the county auditors pending your guys' resolution. So this serves as an official petition to the board.
And that's great. We got almost 1,000, or we got over 1,000, but we got almost 1,000 verified signatures.
Verified by us, but they'll have to
Yeah.
get double secret verified.
So the process here is that we said, after we vote on this, we would submit this to the county, and they would do their own verification, and then we're on the ballot.
Yep, so they verify that we have it, and then it goes on the ballot, we'll get sample ballot language, and then we're out.
What would happen if they determined that there was, not enough verified signatures at this point? How would that work?
I look like a being puppy dog with my tail between my legs as I did too much. Well, it wouldn't go on the ballot.
Yeah.
That's the answer. So if they verified that they weren't correct, it wouldn't make it to the ballot.
And when does the ballot language get drafted, or?
Oh, that's a question for the auditor's office.
Well, the ballot language has already been drafted.
We drafted.
You already approved that,
Right,
yeah.
okay, that's what
It was, what was it, like 2 sentences maybe?
Okay.
But I think the
28th of August is when everything's due to the auditor, so I'm assuming they have several business days after that to get everything compiled.
yeah, we're gonna continue moving forward as planned with it being on the ballot, unless something changes drastically, that's.
We have 997 that would need 749, it would take a lot to.
That'd be a lot of Mickey Mouses on there.
Yes,
There's not a single Mickey Mouse on there.
There you go.
couple of X's.
All right, any other discussion? Seeing none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Needs to be roll call.
We got roll call.
Needs to be a roll call. Can you do a roll call vote for me, please?
Yes, Mark Porter,
Yes.
Ty Ward,
Aye.
Christy Kessel,
Yes.
Megan L. Robbins,
Yes.
Mark Thornton,
Yes.
Deborah Williamson,
Yes.
Dave Eastburn.
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
Awesome. All right. Notice the public hearing date for HSAP Flex Fund expenditures. Do I hear a motion to approve the date for the public hearing for HSAP Flex Fund expenditures?
So moved.
Second.
Williamson and Thornton, and discussion.
So you guys remember back earlier this year, we did a transfer of homeschool assistance funding into what's called the Flex Fund of $375,000. I don't know if I think that was probably your guys' first board meeting for a lot of you. For me to spend that money, I also have to take it back to the board to show you guys what I spent it on. And that's the chance for the public hearing on September 9th. My report's due September 15th. So that's why we set that date. So it will be the chance for the public to come in and say, they like that expenditure, they don't like that expenditure, and then you guys will have to take action to approve me to spend out that funding.
So remind me, that money came out of the homeschool fund, correct? Went into the flex fund.
Correct.
But we still have that option to put it back in the homeschool fund.
Correct.
At a later date if we saw fit. Are they getting what they need now? Or do we have any assessment of that or not, I guess?
I have not heard that we don't, but I have not looked into it at all, I haven't asked, so, yeah.
And I'm projecting additional carryover again this year, so we'll be able to continue to meet their needs. It's gonna be, so about 52,000 of that went towards summer school, another 30,000 went to the Donovan Group for marketing. So it's about $82,000 bill.
But either way, we're just setting the date at this point to have that hearing, and then we can have that discussion at that time. So,
I just wanna say that for the public record, if people wanna come talk about what we used it on, that's the things we used it on.
All right. Any other discussion?
Is it just a typo in there? We transferred 375,000, right? Just missing a zero.
Yeah.
Nothing that matters. I just want to make sure it's.
Yeah, I was just trying to reiterate that, we already transferred those funds
Yeah, okay.
by approval.
Yeah, all right.
Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Superintendent updates.
Yeah, a couple things here. Want to make sure everyone kind of hears collectively. with a grant that we were awarded for safety and security. It's a federal grant. I can't remember if it was how much. Do you remember how much dollar was it? 200,000 ish.
It's 50,000 per building, so we received 200,000.
Yeah. We'll have an update at the September board meeting on how we're using those funds very specifically, so you guys can hear that. That's in the works currently. We'd like to get a satellite voting option up and ready for this potential bond vote if everything goes well with the signatures. At your tables there, I did give you one of those as well. We need 100 signatures, and that has to be submitted 47 days prior to, I think, the actual voting day, which is like September 15th, 16th, somewhere in there. And so we need these so that we can then have a voting station at an event that we would like to host. So something that we could provide, different people the opportunity to vote that maybe otherwise wouldn't. So that's what that is for. New teachers were back this last week. A lot of excitement around what they're going to be doing, the students they're going to be serving. A lot of good work. Our admin team, again, collectively just getting people where they need to be, the planning that goes into that. And then our union too, they did a great job providing a meal and a lot of information for our teachers on Friday last week. And everyone's back tomorrow, so that'll be exciting. Our admin team finalized our core commitments. I'm not sure if I've shared those with you yet. I've talked to a couple of you about it, but I'll make sure to update that for you as well. But we spent time really looking at how we can hold each other accountable to serve and support the adults and the students within our district. And so it's exciting that, we've come together around those. All of our teaching positions are filled as of right now. That's really exciting. I think we saw one para that we needed to identify prior to next Monday. So it's down to the wire, but we're excited about it. The other thing I wanted to make sure that everyone is aware of is we're going to have 6 different community forums specific to our GEO bond, and so those will start on September 5th. Will be the first one. We're going to push that out and invite as many people as we can to those to get informed on what this project is going to entail. So, and invite you all to come Wednesday morning for breakfast, or just to come hang out in the morning as we bring everybody back. It's a little bit different. Normally, in a lot of places, they'll have that big kickoff the first day, but we're doing a little bit different to kind of let teachers get settled and kind of in their buildings and do things that way before we all come together the following day. So,
Awesome. It's always great to feel the buzz of the school here about the start. Everybody's trying to get their ducks in a line. Any questions for Zach?
I was just curious, with that September 5th date coming up so quickly, have we been able to get that out, like on Facebook or anything?
Not yet. Okay. Not yet, I think the key with that is making sure that the materials we're going to use are what we think is going to be best, and we still need some more feedback from some different stakeholder groups. So hopefully after tomorrow, we'll have a little bit more insight, so then we'll finalize those documents so they're ready to go, and we'll push them out before the end of the week or early next.
That's good.
Anything else for Zach? If not, we'll move into highlights. Mark Thornton, you have a highlight for us?
I'm glad first, because hopefully it'll probably be everybody's, but just a great job by everybody getting all of the signatures that we needed to get that question on the ballot. I think it was good to get that much community insight to be able to at least know that that question's going to be there for them to vote on yes or no, just to get out there for the community to have their voice heard at that point. So I think we've done a lot of work so far to get things prepped for our best chance, and hopefully with these meetings coming up, we can show the community even more what we have. So it's good stuff. And to hear from the kids from DC, of all the fun that they had. And it was interesting to hear from each one of them how they enjoyed the time with their fellow classmates and friends. So that's cool that they can have an opportunity to do that during summer. So thanks, Kristen.
Megan.
Yeah, always great to hear from the kids. I love that part of the meeting. Also, I guess just seeing the facilities upgrades through the summer and now in this building here, it's amazing. Decal behind you. I know they've been hard at work. And it's exciting to see that everyone's going to be coming back to the buildings and there's a refresh on the playgrounds and all of that. So.
Cool. Porter?
I think my highlight would probably be definitely the kids. Talk about the Washington D.C. trip. It's really great to see kids in the board meeting, kind of giving us an update of all the things they're experiencing and doing. And I'm hoping that can become a normal thing this year, getting kids at all the meetings, because that's definitely my favorite part of doing this is seeing what's going on in the district and seeing kids thrive. So that was good. I enjoyed that.
Dave?
Well, I certainly like the new digs and our core values on the wall and our logo. So congratulations on that. I like that a lot. Particularly liked getting out in the community, getting the signatures, beat the bushes, knocked on doors. I had a chance to talk with a lot of people, and I enjoyed that a lot, and also talked to them about the needs of our facility needs of our district. And lastly, did I hear that one of the things went to Gettysburg? Is that right? Okay. Well, if any of your students want to talk about Gettysburg, I'd love to do it. Having lived in the Washington D.C. area for a while, been to Gettysburg 5 times. One of my jobs, my dream job, is to be a tour guide at Gettysburg. So I'd love to talk to them.
Christy.
Yeah, I definitely agree with all of you. I think, seeing the kids that going on the trip, we're really passionate about helping kids travel. I think that kids learn so much just by, getting outside of Fairfield. And both of my kids went on this trip with Kristen, and, there were other kids that had never even been outside of Fairfield, had never been on a plane before, had never done any of these things. And I just think it's such a great, opportunity for them to grow and learn and just see, the bigger world. So thank you, Kristen. I think it's awesome that you do that for these kids. So also just seeing all the cool things happening, it definitely feels like we're making so much progress and just moving in a good direction. Getting signatures, I feel like everybody was very positive. I think I only ran into one person that didn't want to sign, and so that was, good to see. And I think it's just going to be, continuing to get that message out about how needed this is, and, the kind of condition that our facilities really are in, and the fact that we have so many issues that are not fixable. And so this really is something that is needed. It's not just, like a pipe dream that, oh, this would be nice to have. Like, it's really something our community needs. So.
Those kids, oh my gosh, I loved hearing from the kids. It's always such a treat. And it's just, I think the best thing about the district is the special things that we get to do. And it's just always great for kids to travel, whether it's DC or some third world country where they can come back home and laugh about first world problems, like there's no ice in my water, so great. And I agree with you, getting the kids getting a chance to travel and first time on a plane and all that, it's just fabulous. And I love that we got so many signatures for so many reasons. I mean, gosh, I was worried. I was worried when we were close but not there yet, and it looks like we just performed. I was very, I felt like it was a great exercise for us all to be talking to individuals about why we need a new middle school, and why, because it's a small town and people are going to talk to their family and friends and neighbors, and so the fact that we needed so many signatures, I think, turned into a benefit in the end.
All right. My highlight, since I go last, everybody always steals it, but yeah, DC trip, it's great. The kids have such a great time. I flew up there and met my family after they were done with the DC trip, and we hung out for another couple of days in DC, and it was fun just to have Delaney run around and tell me all the things she knew about everything now that, you know, she'd already been there. And Elliot went there when she was a kid too, and yeah, I just think it's great. I had not heard about the scholarships that were happening, you know, to get other kids to go. That's amazing. That's awesome to hear that that's happening, so that more kids have an opportunity to go. I remember when I was in my late 20s and I went to DC for the first time, just how awestruck I was, you know, like I don't even know if I would have appreciated it as much when I was a kid, you know. When you're an adult, you kind of, you know, you see everything, and you know, you take in just how amazing all the history is around there. So to have that opportunity as a kid's great. And then yeah, I was gonna say the new paint, the new facelift. It's awesome. I love the buzz of the new school year, and I think this really helps to you know, put it out there that you know, a lot of things have changed this year, which is awesome. It's a visual cue for it. It's good. All right. Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Porter and Eastburn. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? We're adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
That's gotta be a record.
We still
We still do have to close 3.5 hours.